All right. Hello and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, anyone, depending on where you're joining from, or everyone, depending on where,
Everyone,
everyone, all of you,
all
depending
of
on
you.
where you're from. We're very happy to have you here. If you're here for the Agentic Test Orchestration Unleashed and how Testkube AI agents help you fix failures at AI speed, you are in the right place. We are going to get started in about a minute. We're going to let the rest of the audience trickle in. Again, this webinar is being broadcasted to you from beautiful Lisbon, Portugal.
Yep,
Um, Ule, you've been here a couple of days. How are you enjoying the time here?
it's been good. It's been very intense, to be honest. I haven't a lot of work. It was the first time we're getting the entire test cube team together, so it's been awesome to meet everyone and do a lot of fun planning, and we have so many exciting things out of us.
Excited, and then we
But
throw.
the experience of Lisbon has been lacking. I put it that way. I just haven't had time. But
All right,
there's still time. Flying
we'll
back
take
tomorrow,
care
no
of that
problem.
before we go. We'll make sure that we at least see the city a little bit. But um, great. Well, happy to have you here. Where I see audience trickling in, so I want to be everyone. Please, yeah, go ahead and jump in the chat window to say hello wherever you're joining from. We have a couple of housekeeping items that I'm going to go ahead and run the by the audience today. So first of all, this is your time, folks. We created this webinar for you. This is for you to ask any questions that you may have. Please don't wait until the end. We are going to have a Q&A session, but again, this is for you. Go ahead and just go put the questions in the chat window. I believe we have a Q&A button as well that if you're familiar with Wistia, you can go ahead and put your questions there. Second, this is going to be available on demand. So if you go later to testkube.io and you find the webinars in the resources page, we're going to have this recording and many others that we have done in the past and that we will do in the future available for you. So if by hopefully you don't have to leave, but if for any reason you have to step out, please come back and watch the recording. Another one, we are having, by popular demand, a second part of this webinar on February 25th. That is next Wednesday. The only difference is that this time we're going to do it for the AIMER audience. So it's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I understand right now it's a little early in the US. I think it's 10 in the morning. Is that right? Yeah, 10 in the
Not
morning. So
early. That's not
yeah, I
early.
mean not that early, but you may have a meeting or two in there. So 1 p.m. sounded like a cool time for us to do it for East Coast and West Coast as well. So we will see you there again on next Wednesday. We will bring a couple other things to the stage. And last but not least, please visit us at https://testcube.io/resources for more webinars and more technical documentation and a bunch of other goodies that we have there for you. Now, today, Ule and I, and mostly Ule, is going to walk us. Well, we're gonna give you an overview of Test Cube. We are going to the reason why you're here today is we're going to give you and we're going to unveil and talk to you about the Test Cube AI agents, which is the latest thing that Test Cube just put out there. Super proud of this new launch. It's going to be a very exciting thing, and we cannot wait for you to see it. Ule is going to give us an amazing demo that he has been prepping for. We're going to discuss about the future plans that we have coming on in the roadmap, and of course, like I promised, your time. There's going to be time for Q&A. We understand that most of you are familiar with TestCube. So, in the sense of, however, we understand that we also have a lot of people here that may not be familiar with TestCube. So, I will go ahead and give you guys a quick overview. This is not a sales pitch. This is a quick overview of TestCube so you get up to speed on the cool stuff that we're about to demo. So hang in there with me. This is going to take just a couple of minutes. So, for those of you who are not familiar, what is happening today? So, one of the things that we believe on here at TestCube is that if it is important, we have to test it. There is a lot of headlines out there that say, hey, people are really not paying attention to software testing and they're making the headlines in a negative way. So, we want to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. There is a lot of literature around there. I am not going to dive into that, but the problem is that because AI is hitting really hard a lot of teams who are creating software today, testing is getting harder. And it's not only AI, but AI is accelerating the way that code is getting getting developed. And then on top of that, you throw the complexity of all these frameworks and cloud native structures that we're working with. And last but not least, DevOps is also accelerating the speed at what software is getting shipped. So all that is all the combination of all those factors are making the testing equation really hard for some people. And the problem is, and some solutions are not keeping up. So that is causing, you have do-it-yourself approaches, you have CI/CD tools as well, and some cloud testing vendors that uh, all these stuff may mean that you have to digitally stitch your solution, and it's causing cost in terms of visibility. You may end up not really being able to see what is going on in your entire testing operation, and then it's costing you more on staff because you have people again investing time on, instead of innovating, they're spending time on putting things together. And I don't want to even talk about the cost that you're spending on cloud, and last but not least, all the security risks that you are inadvertently maybe bringing. So also, one of the things that is going on is that testing is spreading across the entire software development lifecycle. So before we used to test only at the very end, but now we want to make sure that people is allowed to or able to test when in any stage of the CI/CD pipeline. And Uli, but what else do you have to say about this beautiful diagram that we have here?
Oh, I have a lot to say about this beautiful diagram. So no, but you're totally right. And especially with the advent of maybe cloud native, we definitely see how testing is being kind of spread all across the pipeline, and it's shifting left is something we've done for a while now, right? But people are trying to test earlier to kind of maybe also catch up or hedge all the AI code that's being generated. But we're also seeing people shift right to do testing more in a pre-production or even in production environments, and especially in cloud native when you're adopting GitOps and you're adopting more asynchronous workflows to deploy and promote your releases, testing kind of starts kind of really getting injected into a lot of different places instead of just maybe being in your CI/CD pipeline, and just getting visibility into all of that testing and having a consistency around results and outcomes and is a challenge for many organizations. And I think that's kind of the slide that you had previously said that, where CI/CD tools fall short, where DIY always falls short almost, and the cloud execution vendors are obviously not really there when it comes to the cloud nativeness and some of the new technologies that we're seeing emerging. And from what we can see, also a lot of people just want to be able to run tests, any kind of test really, in their infrastructure with a consistent approach to both test execution and result and analytics and troubleshooting and all that kind of stuff. So
that is a cool
I'll
thing.
stop there.
All right. Thank you for adding that color. So with that, for those of you who are not familiar with Testkube, today we will be talking about Testkube, but not just the product. We're talking about an innovation that we're adding to it. And so you catch up to speed. We are a test out orchestration platform that allows you to get visibility and consistency of your entire testing operation in your organization. We are cloud native, meaning that we are going to leverage the investments that you have done in cloud infrastructure as well. And we are vendor agnostic, which is my favorite thing, meaning that you will continue working with the tools that you love. So this is Testkube, and also here's a cooler diagram that will show you exactly how is it that the control pane allows you to have this a control view of everything that is going on. So you have visibility to the catalog. You can see what is being executed. You have analytics. You have everything that will allow you to make a data-driven decision in the operations that you have in your organization. Now, with that being said, I think I got here I promise you guys and gals, a couple of minutes only. Now that we know what Testkube is, Ule, do you want to walk us through this amazing thing that we're launching today?
I do. I'm so glad you asked, because otherwise I would have been on the wrong webinar. So this is great. So let me see. Are you sharing my slides
Let
now?
me go ahead and stop my share, and now I need your slides on so I can bring you to the stage. There you go. So I'm gonna add it to the stage, and you are live, sir.
And do you see my slide
I
now?
see yours like this.
Okay, great. Now I've kind of lost connection to reality because I can't see you anymore. Exactly. So I'm here to talk to you about the new functionality for AI agents that we've added, and obviously in line with where the rest of the industry is going. but I do feel like we're a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to testing and test orchestration execution at large. And so that's why we're so excited. I will just want to make one quick addition to the intro that you did for those of you that are new to Testkube, is that Testkube is not a testing tool per se. So we're not replacing all the tests that you already have with Playwright or K6 or Selenium or whatever. We are a tool to take whatever tests you already have and make sure those run efficiently in your infrastructure. Just want to point that out because that is something that often comes up. So it's great that you have a lot of tests, and Testkube and Testkube AI agents can now help you make the most of those. So what are Testkube AI agents? So Testkube has had AI functionality for quite some time. We've had an integrated AI assistant, which kind of allows you to do ad hoc querying and analysis of test results. You can do analysis of your environments, and you can get some guidance on the usage of the tool. And this is based on you can provide your own or bring your own LLM if you're using on-prem deployment of Testkube, or if you're using cloud, we allow you to use it's I guess GPT-5.2. And we also have an MCP server we've had for a while that allows you to kind of integrate Testkube into any external AI tools and workflows. And that MCP server gives you almost access to almost everything, not everything, but most of the functionality that we think you might be would like to consume from the outside, right? So running tests, obviously, looking at results, analyzing, creating workflows, updating workflows, digging deep into stuff, executions, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of things you can do with that. But the interesting thing is when we talk to our customers about the MCP server, and they were like, "Oh, we'd love to use this for trend analysis or a bunch of different use cases." But we would like to be able to do this in Testkube itself. We don't want to have to go to, we don't have to, for a QA team, maybe we don't have to learn how to use a Copilot or a Cursor or whatever. We just want to be able to do all these, solve for all these use cases that we have, which involve AI from inside Testkube. And that's kind of something we picked up on and said, okay, why don't we capture that and make it easy for people to build more advanced AI-driven workflows inside Testkube itself? And that's kind of how we got here, right? So customers were asking us, what is causing my weird test results, and how can we speed up the fixing of failed tests, and how can we optimize our test executions, and why are my tests flaky? It's the regular gamut of questions you have when you do testing. So this is not specific to AI, but obviously AI can be really helpful in many of these use cases. Maybe not in all of them, but in many. And so that's kind of which takes us to the AI agents that we're now launching. And at a very technical plumbing level, an AI agent is a prompt, just like an agent. If you're working in if you're familiar with agents and other tools, it's a prompt that can interact with Testkube. It can interact with any of MCP servers that you connect to the platform, and then obviously do what you ask it to do, right, in those prompts. And those prompts can be triggered through the dashboard. They can trigger through chats in the AI assistant and by specific actions that we've built into the dashboard. I'm going to show you, obviously, how all of this works. And what can they do? Well, I hate to say anything, but really anything that given that you can give them access to your MCP servers, they are extremely powerful in kind of, in troubleshooting, in root cause analysis. You could give an agent access to the Kubernetes MCP server and the Grafana MCP server, and you could ask it to pull data from those tools, those systems, and correlate that to the executions of your tests, and maybe try to figure out, why are things behaving so. You could connect them to GitHub, obviously, or your source repository to help with remediation. Basically, looking at source code, maybe suggesting fixes for a failed test. You could do all kind of analysis. You could integrate with Atlassian's MCP server if you wanted to create tickets or write a report to a Confluence page of all the tests that you've run over the last. So the sky's the limit here, and obviously that's what all product people like to say, but really. It really is, and it's been amazing to see as we've been playing around with this internally, just kind of how far you can go with this. Obviously, you need to have the MCP servers on your end available to really tap into your ecosystem of tools, but also something that we see a lot of people who, at least who've come along in their AI journey, already have a lot of those things in place. So super exciting. There's a lot you can do here, and there's a lot you can experiment with. Some other just capabilities I'll run through, in case I forget to mention them during the demo. So you can create as many agents as you want inside your Testkube environments, and you can then, anyone can use those agents depending on what role you have in the environment. And we do include some examples in the product itself. I'll show you what that looks like. But there are also some more advanced examples in the documentation. I'm going to show you what that looks like too. There are, of course, security guardrails. I guess maybe one of the bigger concerns is, what if you don't want your agent to delete your GitHub repository or, whatever you might give it access to. So if you give an agent access to an MCP tool, you can, first of all, configure which tools an agent has access to, but you can also then configure if those should be automatically approved, or if you want to have a more of a human in the loop kind of experience where an agent asks you if it's okay to do certain things, and you can, of course, then always decline. And Testkube user roles apply also. So a read-only user can look at kind of previous chats or conversations, but can't trigger their own. Run users can trigger an agent, run an agent basically, but they can't create their own agents. And write and admin users can then create agents as before. And the same as for the AI assistant, if you're running Testkube on-prem, this will go through the LLM that you've configured. So not going through our LLM. So if you want to use, Claude, or sorry, Anthropic or OpenAI or Gemini or whatever, that's something you can configure. And of course, down the road, we'd like to make it possible to use different LLMs for different agents. We're not there yet, but that's one of the future improvements. And so here we jump into the demo. And I was just thinking about this before the call. Like, we used to joke about, the demo, what's it called? The demo demon, right? Things don't work. And now we're adding, with AI, we're just adding another level of non-determinism into a demo situation. So let's see how it works out. Let's see how many.
We hope you said the prayers to your demo gods. And,
yeah, exactly. The demo gods are with us, and we'll see how it plays out. But if it doesn't do what I want it to, at least it'll be a little bit entertaining, hopefully. Okay, great. So what I'm actually going to work in the Testkube sandbox, and the sandbox environment that we have online has, or after this demo, have a number of agents, or has a number of agents installed. And these agents are the agents that we include with the product. So if you upgrade the latest version of Testkube, you will have these 3 agents available immediately. And since they are in the sandbox environment, you can actually go there now and prompt them and play around with them. You can't modify them, or you can't reconfigure them, but you can try them out on all the data that is already in the sandbox environment, which is quite a lot. So there's a lot of stuff you can already do just to play around with what's in there. And so these are the agents that we have. This is a test failure analyzer. Here you can see kind of the prompt that we've created for it, and you can see that it has access to our internal Testkube MCP server. It doesn't have access to the tools, for example, for creating workflows. It has access to all the other tools, or most of the other tools that are exposed by the MCP server. And I could here add another MCP server. I'm going to do that in an example later on. But if I would have added more MCP servers, which I can do under this tab, I can add as many MCP servers as I want. I could then make those available to an agent. The actual agent interactions can happen either here. I can just say run an agent, and it's going to ask me for a prompt that goes into the agent. I can also go to the chats window, panel, where I can see all the previous chats that I've had with all of the agents, and I can write something here and select which agent I want to talk to, or I can go to the actual workflows, and let's find a failed execution. Let's take this one here, failures, and just press this AI analyze button here. And I'm going to select the test failure analyzer agent. And then we by default pre-fill kind of the workflow execution and workflow for this agent so that it knows what to work on. And now the agent is working. So basically what it's doing now is that it's going to look up this is in the cloud, so it's using GPT-5.2. It's going to follow the instructions that were in that prompt. And as you can see, it's kind of retrieving a bunch of information, look at the artifacts that was generated for this report, and it's actually building a nice URL for me. And let's see what kind of response we get at the end here. bit patient because agents need their time. Here we go. So here we got a really nice analysis of the workflow. It tells kind of what was run, what failed, root cause analysis. It kind of, and it also suggests how to fix this specific test. Now I'm going to say here, okay, compare this execution to previous executions. And so you can always do a follow-up prompt. And so what it's doing now, it's looking at previous executions, it's getting the patterns, and it's looking at the previous executions, and it's kind of looking at, oh, these are on the slower side. It's looking, finding some, giving me some CPU and memory metrics on the previous executions to kind of maybe help me understand, whatever I might be. So let's say, suggest how to improve this workflow for better execution behavior. Let's see what it says. Behavior. Spelling's not that important for
So
AI.
I think one of the use cases we need to put it there is autocorrect, Ule.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so remove the biggest source of variance, stop doing pip install. So it actually changes, then in the workflow, change this, right? So make test results more deterministic, blah, blah, blah. And so it gives me a lot of really nice suggestions. It also adds like, hey, you should probably add resource requests and limits. And actually, I'm not going to do that right now, but I could just say here, update my workflow with these suggestions, and it would do that. And then it could ask it to rerun this workflow and compare the outcome of that. So here I can do a lot of interactions just based on a single workflow, right? And help me kind of understand and maybe troubleshoot what went wrong. And once again, the agent has access to all the history and all the executions and all the metrics and everything. So you can really do really deep dives. So let's say you're running a load test across multiple nodes. Let's see if we can find something there. K6. We do a distributed K6 test. This one ran across, okay, this one ran across 10 nodes. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to copy the name of this execution. I'm going to go to the AI assistant. I'm going to ask it, tell me about the performance of each node in the execution. Okay, so now it's going to retrieve those metrics. It's going to look at the artifacts. It's looking at the logs, and it's building 10 workers. It's telling me a bunch of stuff about these workers. So once again, I could be rerunning this. I could compare it to previous executions. I could ask it to create tables. The sky's the limit here. Now I just did this ad hoc prompting here. The AI system does not have access to external MCP servers. It only has access to the Testkube MCP server in a read-only mode. So what I can do here is somewhat limited. But some other interesting things I can do here is I can just ask it about my environment. So, for example, which Docker images are my tests using? Give me a nice table regard. Let's start that by by testing tool. Let's run that. So now it's going to look through all the workflows that I have, and it tells me immediately here, these are the different tests I'm running. These are the different Docker images that I'm using for these tests, right? I could tell it, okay, am I using some Docker images here that have like security concerns? I could ask it to help me update workflows to say, make sure they're all using the same, or update those that are using a specific version to another one. In this specific case, we want them to use different versions, etc. But this is just an example of how you can use the AI, not just to kind of work with your tests, but also just work with your Testkube environment if you have a large Testkube installation. Okay, lots of talk here. So next thing I wanted to show you is, let's close this one, and let's create a new agent for ourselves. So I'm going to go here, add AI agent, and I'm going to call this the test analyzer. I'm going to go to our documentation And in the documentation, there's a using Testkube section, Testkube AI Agents, example agents, flakiness analysis, yay. And here I am going to just copy this prompt right here. And let's go back to, where was I? There you go. Put that in here and create the agent. So here you can see that nice prompt that I put in there. Actually, some of the indenting didn't really pass. Let's see. Let's give it, do some nice, be nice to the agent. Okay, and one thing that this prompt says is that if it detects flakiness, we also want it to look at the source of the tests themselves, identified by the YAML of the workflow, right? So if you're not familiar with Testkube, Testkube uses test workflows as an abstraction for all the testing tools that it runs, or for any testing tool. And in that workflow, there's a property that points to the Git repository that contains the test itself. And I want this agent to actually look not just at the test results, but also at the Git repository to see if anything's changed in my tests that could be explaining the reason for the test failures. So let's save that. And I'm also going to give it access to an MCP server. And I've pre-configured an MCP server against our Testkube repository. And this is with a GitHub access token that only has read access to that repository. And I'm going to have to now say, okay, which tools should it have access to in that MCP server? So probably get commits, get file contents. I don't want it to ask for auto improvements. Let's see. Listing branches would probably be helpful. Listing commits could be helpful. What else? Let's start there. Searching. Let's start with that. So now it has access to 4 tools from the GitHub MCP server of 40. The others are obviously not available. So so that it by accident doesn't decide to redo one of the other things. Although maybe the other things could be helpful just for the sake of flakiness analysis. So we now have our agent. So let's go back here and find a workflow. That has, let me see here, a workflow with a status field, maybe. These are display. Let's try this playwright test here. Look at the executions, and let's just do AI analysis on this and select our flaky test analyzer and run that. So now what's happening now is that it's going to hopefully start looking at the execution, look at the results of this playwright test, and then do all the analysis that I had prompted. And as you can see here, it's looking at previous executions, it's retrieving previous execution logs, it's looking at commits in the Git repository to kind of figure out what's been going on in the Git repository for where the playwright test is located. And let's see what it comes up with in the end. Here we go. Execution check. So it checked 3 executions. These failures are not flaky. Maybe that wasn't so surprising. They are deterministic environment. 3 failures, 3 execution, root cause from logs, source repo change. It says here, across the check to, but the sample recent commits I inspected are unrelated to playwright tests. So it did kind of a bunch of analysis, and it did also suggest kind of a fix that could be applicable to why this specific one is failing. And here, once again, I could say, okay, look at some more executions. Maybe if I would have other MCP servers available, I could ask it to pull in data from other systems to further help me do a flakiness analysis of this specific workflow. And this is so much more powerful than obviously a straightforward kind of a manual analysis of all the logs and trying to figure out what is happening over time. And these agents, I can go here to the chats and I can see and if you go to the sandbox environment in our cloud offering, you will see these same chats, and you could go into them and you can actually probably, since you have run access, you can go in here and add your own prompts at the end to kind of say, hey, why don't you do this, and why don't you try this, etc., etc. So this is open for you watching the demo and anyone looking at the video afterwards. Okay, great. So we've created our own agent. We've played around a little bit with the existing agents, and as you can hopefully you see that together with MCP servers, what these agents can do is very vast and can be very helpful. The final thing I wanted to show you is a use case of remediation. So remediation, and I'm going to go to another environment where I've kind of prepared this to the best of my abilities. Remediation is the act of an agent looking at a failed test, but also looking at the source code of the system under test and trying to figure out, is there something in the source code that could be causing the test to fail, and can I do something about it? And I've defined an agent here. If we go to my AI agents, it's called the remediation agent. As you can see here, it has a nice long prompt about what it's supposed to do. And it also has access to a GitHub MCP server that goes to my account where this repository is, where it's actually has the possibility to create repositories and create, not create repositories, create branches and open pull requests, etc. But we'll see that those are not automatically approved. So hopefully it's going to ask me for approval as I try to remediate. I say hopefully because there's, well, it's AI. So we'll see how well it plays. So I'm going to go to this test. And the interesting thing here is that I've in the workflow itself defined where the target repository is for the source code of the system under test, right? Otherwise, the agent wouldn't know where to look unless I provide that somehow. I've added an annotation to my workflow where I say, hey, this is the target repository. Then I've instructed the agent to use this repository. But this is just a heuristic that I've made up for the sake of the demo. You could be using whatever heuristic you want. You could hard code your agent to look at specific repositories. You could define other rules for the agent to understand where it should be looking for reasons for test failures. And now I'm going to go to, this is the failed test. I'm going to go to AI Analyze, and I'm going to select remediation agent. I'm going to do a little prayer to the demo gods, and I'm going to press the run agent button. And so what this is now going to do is once again, it's going to look at the execution of that test, looking at the execution logs. It's also, let me see here, artifacts. It's going to get the commits from my Git repository where I've introduced a bug. It's going to look at the actual file contents of the files that I changed in that commit. And let's see what it comes up with. It's looking at a lot of stuff here. Okay, now it's asking me, it wants to create a branch. So presumably it's going to put a fix for my bug. So I'm going to approve that. So this is kind of where the human in the loop kind of thing happens. And let's give it some time.
And while that happens, Ule, I'm very curious if the audience would like to participate also in the chat and let us know after seeing these use cases with the AI agents. You mentioned multiple times the sky's the limit. I'm curious to what other use cases the audience would like to see in upcoming demos that we do. So please feel free to jump in the chat and leave your ideas. We are taking all the feedback and everything into consideration right now. This is a very exciting time for us, and your voice is super, super important. So please let us know.
Yeah, please let us know. And okay, so here now as you probably saw, it kind of asked me to approve creating the branch, pushing some files, creating a pull request, and here's what it found. So it found the bug in my code, and it actually generated a fix. Hopefully, let's have a look at what it actually did here. There's a very thorough explanation of that bug that I added. And here's the pull request that it created, and that I could merge to fix this bug in my target service. So this is obviously a simplistic example, but you can see that it was capable. The agent was capable of looking at the test results. It was capable of figuring out what I'd done wrong. It was capable of suggesting a fix and creating that pull request. I was in the loop, so it didn't just blindly go ahead and create a bunch of stuff. And I obviously now have to approve that pull request. And as a last step, I could have had the Slack MCP server here, so it could have posted a link to the pull request on Slack, for example, or it could have created an issue in Jira and describing the issue and adding a link like with a suggested fix to that issue, or if you want someone else to do. So really how you then kind of the next steps you take with all the stuff that it does are really up to you and the tools that you have access to in your infrastructure. Okay, great. That worked out dandy. So let's go back to the slide. So what I wanted to just touch upon next is what's next for the AI agents. There's always something next, right? We're never happy, never sitting still. One is in the UI. We want agents always to be available wherever you are in the UI and with context. So no matter if I'm looking at looking at the logs for an execution or in the insights module or wherever else, I should always be able to do a prompt that is kind of an invoke an agent with the context of what I'm looking at right now. Make that easier. If you remember, I copy pasted the name of an execution. That's something that I shouldn't have had to do, or we want to kind of remove those kind of small hurdles. Another thing is around automatic triggering of your agents. So the agents now were manually triggered, right? I pressed a button to get them going. There's two kind of primary use cases. One is automatically running an agent when a test fails. So for example, the remediation one here, I mean, the cool thing would be, the test runs as part of a build or on a schedule, and it fails, and an agent kicks in and tries to remediate and just pushes a link to a Slack channel. And then somebody is notified, hey, there's a test failure, here's a suggested fix, and someone can go and look into that. So it's not something you have to actively go into Testkube to kind of set off that workflow. The other is around scheduling. So saying, I want to run this agent once a day. For example, you could say, hey, look at all the failed workflow executions from yesterday for all our playwright tests, and tell me which ones are flaky, which ones need my attention. Are someone consuming more resources than they usually do, and maybe can you suggest a fix, and can you create a nice report of that and push it into our collaboration tool, like Confluence or whatever you might be using, or Notion. And once again, kind of what you want, what these agents do, and how you prompt them, since the LLMs themselves are extremely capable today, as I'm sure you know, they're really very little limits to what you can achieve there. I did mention having different LLMs for different agents might make sense if you don't want to eat up too many tokens on an expensive LLM on your end. We like to integrate with MCP catalogs. Obviously, there's if I want to add an MCP server to my agent, it would be nice if I could just browse a catalog and say, hey, I want to use this one. Either do an OAuth flow to authenticate or provide a token, etc. And there's just a lot more we can do with this. I think we're just scratching the surface, but we were really eager just to get this out, because in our testing, and as I've shown in the demo, these agents are already extremely capable, and even without these features that you see on this and everything else that we've got in store for you.
That is great, Ole. I don't know if you want to elaborate. Actually, two things. We have now. Let's go ahead and open for Q&A. But before we do that, there is a question actually in the chat. I don't know if you would like to take a quick read and address it.
Of course.
And while you pull that, I'll go. Oh, there's the mirror. That's pretty cool.
Well, so that's what I have
so
to do.
Let's here. I can read it to you if you want to go back to your slide, so we're not. It looks very psychedelic right now. All the faces are floating on the screen. So I'll read it to you. It says, can you now tell AI to execute that test against the branch that is created and see if it actually fixed it?
I can definitely tell AI to rerun the test. So for the branch, what I would have to do is build so the branch didn't build anything. So if I would have configured my GitHub correctly, there would have been a pull request, a build process that would have kicked in when that pull request was open, that would actually build that updated calculator service and deploy it somewhere. So I could be running tests against it. That's a great idea, and that's something we should get into place for the next iteration of this demo. But if I would have had those things in place, yes, I could have done that. I just haven't set it up on GitHub to actually build that pull request and deploy it somewhere so I can run my tests. But I could have done that, and it could have done it automatically. I could have told it to wait for the pull request deployment to finish and rerun the test and make sure that it actually works. So there's and for the courageous people out there, you might even say, okay, if the tests don't pass, you can automatically merge. Not sure I would do that, but it's kind of maybe you can even give the LLM some guidelines if you know if the changes you made were small, and that's obviously subjective. Maybe you empower them to actually automatically merge. But if the changes touched more than one file or had changed more than 10 lines of code, then you want a human in the loop kind of intervention to make sure it doesn't do things that it shouldn't be doing. So I haven't set up the demo for that, but you could definitely achieve that if you've kind of prepped your infrastructure more thoroughly. But great
All
question.
right. So we want to thank Amir for that fantastic question. Another one that I think we need to clarify is this free to use today? Is it available today? What do we need to do if we want to participate in the preview?
Yeah, it's free. We're gonna not sure it's gonna be free forever, but it's free for now. So if you're an existing Testkube commercial customer, you'll have this functionality available. You just need to upgrade to the latest version. If you go to the sandbox, as I was mentioning earlier, so if you go to testkube.io, do get started, go to the sandbox, you will see exactly what I showed you here. So I am in the sandbox here, so you should be able to see these chats, and you should be able to add new prompts to them, and you also create new prompts up here and use one of these agents that are in here. So that's definitely free to use. We will at some point in the future figure out how to monetize this in a kind of fair way, but for now we just want people to use it and kind of figure out what are the real best use cases and how can we improve it.
Yeah, we definitely. Again, we want and need your feedback. We would love to hear how is it that you're using it. So let's see. I believe there is another question. Let me read here. Can you? Okay, so we took care of Amir. Let me go ahead and add this to the stage, Ule, so you can read it. I believe it's cutting off a little bit, but it says what kind of access control to the control plane a user needs to interact with the AI agents. Is it read-only, write, or admin?
So you need run access to be able to interact with an agent, to prompt it to do things. You need write or admin to create or modify agents. Read access is just for reading output from an agent. So as all the users in our sandbox have run permissions, so they can run workflows, they also have the capability to run agents, basically, or interact with an agent. So maybe I hope I answered that question. But run is the lowest permission you need to be able to interact with an agent.
Okay. Yeah, and Eric, hopefully that answers your question, but feel free to follow up if you have any more that you would like to add. I am going to go ahead and launch a quick poll for the audience while we continue talking. So let me see if I'm doing
Yeah,
this right. Okay.
I can speak. I was demoing this to another customer the other day, and they had one question which I'd like to speak to, which is
Yeah,
maybe
please.
interesting, which is around can these agents create tests? And
Mm,
definitely. So you could definitely prompt an agent to say, hey, create a playwright test for my website and push that to a Git repository, right? Or add that as it, or I, so the test authoring, test creation part, these agents are capable of doing that. If you give them access to the MCP servers, they need to interact with your source control system where they would have to store those tests. That's something they can do, and they can then create the workflow needed to run those tests, and they can do whatever you want. So maybe saying, okay, why don't you talk more about that? Because that's actually extremely cool. And that's something that I think we want to tailor the experience around test authoring and creation more in the product, because we think that's something that a lot of people ask us about. So it's something that also one of those lists of that we want to make better when it comes to kind of test authoring and creation part. And I mean, I'm super excited about that because since Testkube is tool agnostic, right, we can create any kind of test, or an LLM can create any kind of test. We can create load tests, we can create end-to-end tests, we can create API tests. We're not bound, or an LLM is not bound to a specific testing framework, and neither is Testkube, right? So Testkube can run any kind of test. You could be creating infrastructure tests, create a test that validates my Prometheus instance or my whatever, or created a security test, a pen test, right? And Testkube will be able to run those for you. So that's a super exciting track we want to go down. Now we're just focusing on those core use cases that customers have been asking us about around root cause analysis, around flakiness detection, around remediation, and around kind of integrating into your ecosystem of tools with, very basic use cases. A test fails, create a nice summary, create a Jira ticket, right? So, and that has that summary. It's something with webhooks today, you get a summary, but you don't get like an AI enhanced version of what actually went wrong. And here you obviously can do it manually. So somebody can first look at the failure and say, yeah, let's push this to Jira. They select that Jira agent that you've created and run it, and that Jira agent will do kind of the magic. It'll do the nice RCA root cause analysis that I showed you, and then create a Jira ticket. So
Is
if you want help with any of those use cases or kind of want to see more, please get in touch. As you can see, I'm excited because it's just like, oh, there's so much you can do, and it works so well. And so, sorry, I'll stop talking. Lucio, back
Oh
to you.
no, no, please continue. I know the audience is enjoying. I was going to ask you. So we talked about the cost. We talked about the use case. That you also told us about the future roadmap of Testkube agents. One thing is, there a particular group of users of Testkube that would benefit from this, or this is we encourage everyone who's using Testkube to give it a swirl.
Yeah, I think so these agents can definitely add value in most scenarios of how you're using TestCube. So I don't see anyone not benefiting from it. Obviously, it depends on your level of AI. I don't know, maturity is the wrong word, but kind of how far you've come in your adoption of AI. And if
Mm.
you have, maybe you don't want to, do you have your own LLM that you can use? But I think maybe I showed some very advanced use cases. You don't have to start there. You can do just very basic prompting, and it'll be helpful. So it's a great way just to scratch the surface of how can AI help us with troubleshooting, with running tests. I didn't go into the use case of can AI decide which tests to run, right? Or could it say, hey, I could say, hey, these are all the create a new test workflow that reruns all the failed workflows from yesterday, kind of creates a composite workflow that just reruns those in parallel. That would be a straightforward thing. It's actually something maybe I should do in the next demo, but it's like something you could do to say, hey, I just want to rerun the test that failed yesterday just to make sure that are they still failing. And that's something you could then in the future schedule to run like every morning at 2 o'clock. You say, hey, create a workflow that reruns all of the failed tests or just rerun them. I don't know, whatever is best for you. And then, so anyway, there's a lot you can do around kind of, especially if you have an environment where you're running a lot of tests and you have a lot of different results, and it's just hard to kind of maybe read through all the results that you're getting.
As you can tell, Ule is very excited, and he
Very
could talk
excited
all day about this. And that's
all
why
day.
we are giving you a second edition of this webinar next week. So, joking aside, we have a second issue of the webinar on, well, again, as a reminder, on Wednesday, 25th at 1 p.m. EST, right? Yeah, it's 1 p.m. Eastern time. So for those of you in the East Coast and West Coast, we're going to make it more convenient as well. So, anything else before we go that you would like to add, Ule, or also the audience? There's still time to ask any questions that you may have. We saw, just as a quick summary, we saw Ule, you walked us through the Testkube AI agents. We also saw 3 different use cases that you can use these agents for today inside Testkube, and you actually can go ahead and give them a try. I put some documentation in the chat for the audience if you want to see what was launched in January, which included a big part of the launch in January is the Testkube AI agents. There is also more documentation about what was included in that release. And also, if you want to see details about how to use them, some examples, we have some videos in that blog as well. So we are very excited. And also thank you, Evan, for putting in there the invite for, or the registration page for the webinar next week if you want to attend that one. Again, these are not pre-recorded. We are practicing a little bit before doing the webinar, but as Ule said, the reason I mentioned that is because we may end up with a different demo next week. So
We will.
yeah, we're gonna have different use cases and different questions. So if you can make it to that one as well, we would be very grateful. In the meantime, you can go ahead and check us out on GitHub. You can go to, if you have questions, go ahead and join our community in Slack. So just go to /testcube hyphen Slack and or go to testkube.io and you will find all the information that we have for you in there. Ule, any final words before we let the audience go?
No, no, thank you so much for watching. This has been great. As before, please reach out. And if there's other things on related to AI or just related, testing and test cube that you're interested in, please get in touch and let us know. We're building this for you guys. So
Yeah.
the more we know about your needs and the better product we can build.
Yes, yes, we couldn't say it better. This is for all of you, so please let us know what are the use cases that you're using it for, what are the things that you would like to see. We are taking all that into consideration. So we are very grateful for your time, your participation. Ule, thank you so much
My
for all
pleasure.
the cool insights, and we will talk to you all soon. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you soon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.